The phrase, you can have your story or you can have your healing, you can't have both. What does that mean? What I mean by that is you can't continually talk about what you went through and how painful it was and how hard it was for you, and also have your healing journey and move forward. The two do not coexist because they pull in different directions, right? Talking about your pain and everything you went through pulls you back towards your past, and wanting to be the highest expression of yourself pulls you towards your future. So you have this pulling in different directions, which is really this duality and this contradiction that we have in our mind sometimes when we're trying to move forward with something. When I first posted this, something that someone said that really stuck with me, she said, oh, but you don't understand, my story is really, really healing. She was convinced, like, you're mistaken, like, my story is really healing for me and for everyone. I thought to myself, really? That's healing for you? Saying, and I don't know what her story was, it's not even the point, but saying things like, I was abused, I was attacked, I was in a terrible accident, life has been really hard for me, this person screwed me over, this was a massive failure, this happened, all of those things which happened and which are true, right? But I'm like, really, that makes you feel good to say that? That makes me feel really shitty to say that, right? To give that story more energy, that's not good for me. It's not good for you either, right? Now, what we're not talking about spiritual bypassing and sticking our fingers in our ears and saying, la la la, it's not happening, I'm just not going to look at that, I'm going to be love and light and all things nice. That's not what we're talking about. Obviously, coming to terms with something traumatic in your past, that is part of the healing process, and that is quote unquote very healing, right? To realize, oh, there was abuse there in that in that part of my childhood or in that relationship or whatever it might be. That realization is a really key piece in then uncovering, I'm seeing like a box opening, like a Pandora's box, right? In unleashing those emotions that you've pressed down, because that's what trauma does. All of the emotions come out, and then we look at them and we're angry and we're sad and we're heartbroken, we feel abandoned, and we've got to look at all those emotions, feel them, process them, talk through them with a counsellor or a therapist or a coach or whoever it might be. So it is important, of course, to process the emotions that go along with that. But that's not what we're talking about. I'm talking about after we've processed it. You don't want to continue repeating the story, because here's what happens. There's two things. One, as we all know, our thoughts and our feelings and our words create what we're experiencing now and in the future. So while it may be factual, a black and white fact that you went through abuse or trauma or bullying or whatever it was, and that happened, and that's a black and white fact that happened, right? We're not attaching any meaning to it. We're just saying this is something that happened. The meaning, incidentally, is another part of this, what we make it mean, but I'll get to that in a second. So that is a thing that happened. But if you keep repeating it, you're conjuring up those feelings in your body. You're making yourself feel the feelings of it happening, which from an attraction standpoint is going to attract more bad shit to you. And you've been through enough, you deserve better, right? So that's one thing that happens. A second thing that happens is that our brains can't tell whether it's happening right now or whether we are thinking and feeling about it, because the chemistry in our brain is exactly the same, whether we're going through it or we're reliving it in our minds, right? Our brain thinks it's happening. So we are re-traumatizing ourselves by constantly repeating the story. I was abused, I was attacked, this happened, it was so awful, life's been so hard. So not only are you making it part of your past, part of your reality now by giving it all of this life and all this energy, you're also calling more of it into the future by placing so much attention on it. And another thing happens is when we have this identity of life is really difficult, I'm the one who struggles, I'm the bullied kid, I'm the person who's been hard done by, whatever it is, we have that as our identity, and sometimes we don't know who we are without that identity. And that's when it gets really, really dangerous. That's when I see people not moving forward. The people that are arguing in comments on Facebook saying, no, my story about being abused is really healing. I'm like, it's not, because you haven't moved forward, because you're so triggered by my concept. Just a concept. You can just, most people don't know this, but you can read something on the internet that you disagree with and just move on with your life. You can, right? Most people don't know that. But you are so triggered by the concept of this that you want to argue with me about it because it's triggering the identity, it's threatening the identity that you have placed upon your story. And people say things like, well, going through what I went through made me who I am. And I'm like, give yourself some credit, right? Saying the person who put me through hell, whether that was a relationship or whether it was, more along the lines of something abusive or traumatic or whatever it was, saying they made me who I am and what they did to me made me who I am is really taking away a lot of your power and a lot of your credit, right? You made you. You built this, right? You did that. It was your strength and your courage and your tenacity and your willingness to look at your shadows and your willingness to get up off your knees. You did that. They didn't do that. Don't give him or her or whoever it was credit for who you've become, right? They didn't make you. They might have been a catalyst, and as we've talked about before, you might be really grateful for that and say, you know what, I'm glad that happened because I learned this, this and this, right? This feels like a good segue into talking about black and white facts versus perception. So if something's happened to you and you know it was traumatic, and you can say in a very black and white way, that's what happened, right? That's what occurred, and I've processed it and I've moved forward. But there are other things that are not so black and white. This happened and my business failed. I made this move in my career and it didn't work out. I'm a massive failure, right? When those kind of things happen, I was in a car accident and I'm really clumsy. That means I'm really clumsy and it means I can't have nice things. It means I'll never have a nice car because I always wreck them or whatever it is. All of those things it's mixing up the facts of what happened with the emotions of what happened, right? So you're saying your business failed or you made this move in your career and it was a failure, right? Failure is not actually black and white. That's something that's about our perception. It's less about what happened and more about what we're making it. This whole thing of looking at what happened and perceiving what happened, like you perceive your business to have failed or you perceive to have failed in your career. Well, did you fail or were you redirected because you weren't on the right path? Did you fail or did you learn, right? That whole thing, you either win or you learn. It's kind of cheesy, but it's true. Did you actually position yourself really well for your next career or your next business venture? Because now you know a lot about hiring the right people or who to ask in the corporate world. Did you learn a lot about business and entrepreneurship and online marketing and the corporate ladder and how the corporate world works? Did you learn a lot about that, a lot about yourself that now gives you the lessons to do exactly what you're going to do next? Did that bring you to where you are now to prepare you for the next step? All these things that you've learned have really been lessons, right? It doesn't mean you're unworthy or you're bad or you're stupid or all these things that I can sort of hear some of you saying when you've made a mistake. What if the mistake had nothing to do with you? What if it had nothing to do with your worthiness, your business smarts, your what else would it be, your ability to succeed? What if none of that had to do with your worth? What if that thing was just a lesson that was divinely orchestrated so that you could learn the thing you need to learn to do what you're going to do next, right? So entertain that as a possibility. And so as you can see with the story thing, with the story or your healing thing, repeating the same story of I'm bad in business, I'm not good with money, I made mistakes, it actually prevents you from seeing the lesson in it, right? And the blessing in what was mess and madness and chaos at the time. It prevents you from really processing it and moving through it. If you're constantly repeating this story and you are with a coach or counselor or a therapist or a healer or whatever, who's like kind of coddling you and colluding with you and going, yeah, you're right, it was really hard for you, let me treat you like you're a porcelain doll, you're just not going to move forward, right? And that's the thing. That is the thing. Repeating your story is going to keep you exactly where you are. It is. I don't want to hurt anyone with what I've said either. I feel all the feels, but I also know that patronizing you and saying that, yeah, things were really hard for you. Like, we've all been through stuff. Say what it is that you want. Worrying about something is like praying for what you don't want, and it's the same when you repeat your story of how things were difficult. You're praying for what you don't want. You'll bring more of that into your life. You'll bring more struggle in, and you deserve ease and flow. You deserve to have some good things in your life. You've been through enough. Time to draw a line under that and turn the page. And that page is blank and you get to write whatever the fuck you want in it. And that's empowering. You can do this. You're strong. There are good things in store for you. I love you. Speak to you next time.